G'day guys, today I wanted to talk to you all about and share with you my top 4 gadgets that I take away in my motorhome with me each time. They're not just for motorhomes, they're for caravans, campers and touring in cars. I think they're a definite must to have, and I'll share my thoughts with you. Alright, coming in at number 1 is this little guy here. This is my 12 volt to 240 volt inverter. Now, a lot of people when they go away, especially when they're off the grid camping, they see these power points in their vans and motorhomes and think that they can use them when they're off power, but that's not the case. What you need to have is a little inverter. So what's an inverter? Let's have a look. I'll unbox it. I've had this for quite some time. You can see on the front there's I think that's like a mid-90s Toyota Prado, and that would definitely be, oh geez, probably a late 70s Caravan. So you can see that this box is quite old. I bought this from Dick Smith years ago. Alright, so I'll take them out, and this wasn't a dear one, this was only a cheapie. I think this is around $100. It's a 300 watt inverter. I know that you can get them up to 1,000 watts and above, but this little guy does the job for me. You can see on the front here there's a 240 volt power point, a little on off switch, a little red switch, and on the back you can see a couple of positive and negative connection points, as well as a little earth stake screw. Alrighty, now I'll put this box over here. Now in the box came these connection points, and you can see here there's a cigarette lighter connection point. In this little motorhome I've got a number of 12 volt cigarette lighter connections, and it's also got battery clamps, black for negative and red for positive, and depending on which way I want to go, I'll connect one of these to the little connection point. Again, it's clearly labelled minus and a plus. Plus is positive red and minus is negative black. Alright, I'll connect them up. A little black connection point under the, you see the minus there, and you can see the plus there. Hope my fingers aren't getting in the way. Alright, so I'll tighten these up. Just crimp them up hand tight, and there we are, that's now connected. There we go. Now connected. So what I've got to do is find a 12 volt outlet, and I'll plug this little guy in and we'll give it a bit of a test run. Alright, so I'm going to pop this guy just in this little one here, and this is my junk cupboard, and I've got the inverter. Again, my little wires here aren't long enough, so I've just rested this on my TV stand. Turn the switch on, you can hear a little fan start, and you can see that little red light on there. So now I've got 240 volt power when I'm off the grid. As I said before, we've all got these little power points inside the van. We've all got these little points inside the van, but they only work when we're plugged into 240 volt power. And while this van is set up for both on and off the grid use, there are times when you still need that 240 volt power when you're off the grid. Okay, this is one little guy that I take away with me whenever we go on holidays. 90% of the time we are on grid, I think that's what you call it, but 10% of the time we go off grid, and I always like to have a nice clean shave. So I'll give you a little demo. I'll plug this little guy in here. Okay, he's plugged in. Turn it on. And there's my little 240 volt electric razor. And she's going. Now I couldn't use this. He's not a battery operated one. See, unplugged doesn't work, but plugged in she goes like a Trojan. Alright, so that's one use. Another use I have of my little inverter is charging my laptops, charging iPads, and sometimes even charging iPhones when we haven't got the 12 volt connection point. Another little item I take away with me too is this little Ryobi battery charger. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, my batteries are fully charged. They last for a long time. But if I'm caught out, I also use my inverter to charge my batteries. So when I'm off the grid, I can still enjoy that power. Okay, demo number 2. I've just plugged in my Ryobi battery charger. And I've got a Ryobi battery that's just under full. So I'll turn him on here on the side. Excuse it, it's not the ideal position. I'm going to have to get longer wiring here so that I can put this on the bench. Anyway, just for this little demo, I've turned my inverter on. See the little red lights on, power buttons on. There's the little red light to my battery charger. Plug the battery in. You can see the little red light flashing, and there we go. I've got this battery light flashing on 4, so it's in between 75 and 100% full. So yeah, I hope this demonstrates why it's good to have a little inverter. As I said, you cannot use your power points when you're not plugged into 240 volts. When you're off the grid, while you may have USB points and 12 volt like cigarette type connection points, they still won't cover every aspect that you may need. Alright, so that's number 1. Like I said before, this is a 300 watt inverter. It does all the little things, but don't think that it's going to boil your kettle or your hair dryer or any of those high heating sort of devices. You need a much stronger inverter, which is also a lot dearer. But for me, this does the job. Great for off the grid stuff. Okay, coming in at number 2 is this little guy. Looks like a little gun, but it's actually a tyre inflator. Little 18 volt. Once again, it's a little Ryobi 18 volt tyre inflator. It can be used, bear with me, in conjunction with any other Ryobi tool. Little fans. No, I shouldn't say that because that's number 3. Anyway, 18 volts. This battery is a 4 amp battery. I know my tyres on the motorhome have a maximum PSI of 65 PSI. I put mine up to about 60 PSI. It does the job. When I do all 4 tyres, if this battery is fully charged, even once I've done 4 tyres, if I put £5 in each tyre, by the time I've finished, it's still on 4. So there's plenty of grunt in this little battery, and this does the job really well. On another note, I'm lucky that I've got a bunch of Ryobi 18 volt tools, but I'll tell you what, even if I didn't, I would still get this little guy, because before I had this, I used to use a large compressor with cables. I used to have to drag a big 100 amp hour battery, clamp it, and it was a lot of work. But the beauty of this little guy is that you can pull up at a caravan park, and even if you see your tyres a bit low, you can do it there and then. As you all know, motorhomes are big and they're awkward. Sometimes you can't quite fit into those spots where the air hose is in servos and other places. Yeah, so it's so good to have this. I use it in my car, and I usually try and always take it in my motorhome whenever we're going away. It's a bugger if I forget it. But yeah, it's so easy. You can top up your tyres, and anyone around you needs a bit of a top up. You just walk over, connect it up, and pull the trigger. It's great. I bought it for $89. So you just connect it the same way you would any other device. So this is my motorhome tyre. It's a bit grubby. It needs a wash. So as soon as I push this button, you can see that I'm on 63 PSI. So every time it'll go up 2, and then when you take your trigger off, it'll go back 1.5. Okay, so there we go, we're on 64 now. Yeah, so I find that it takes about 10 seconds for every 1 PSI, especially when we're getting up over the 60 mark. But it is good to know, this thing has a maximum capacity of 150 PSI, which is way more than I'd ever need, but it's nice to know that I can top my motorhome tyres up to 60-65 PSI without any dramas. And this little guy, as you can see, this fits into a cupboard or under the floor quite easily. No need to have any big chunky compressors or things that need clamping to a battery or into a power point. This little guy does the job. I really love this little guy. Okay, coming at number 3 is this cool little fan, little Ryobi fan. It swivels up and down. You can turn it round and around. It's also got a little clamp. Forgive me, as always, I'm one-handed. This little clamp, you can clamp onto anything. Not that I clamp it on the table, but you can. There we go. It's 18 volt. The beauty of this, like the other Ryobi tools, is you need 2 hands, but you can. Sorry about the. You can unclip it and put it back onto any other Ryobi tool that you've got. Now, I'm a Ryobi fan, but I'm not getting paid or sponsored by Ryobi. I'm sure there's other brands out here, but because I had Ryobi tools, I stuck with them. I like the little camping section they've got and a lot of the little gadgets they've got in there. Now, this little fan was $59. I did look at getting, I think they were called Sirocco fans, and I was trying to find a convenient spot that I could attach it to, but in the end, basically, there wasn't any convenient spots. So yeah, I got this little guy, and as you can see here, he can sit on the table, he can go over here and sit on the sink, or I can pop him over here on my junk shelf, much to my wife's disgust. And leave him running. It's as quiet as a mouse, and $59. I think the Sirocco fans are up around the $400-500 mark. I might have that wrong, but they seem very expensive. Yeah, as I said, this little guy's as quiet as a mouse. Now with I've got a 4 amp battery. 4 amp battery, 18 volt. I had this little guy running all night from deliberately 12 hours, from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. in the morning, and I had it running on low. There's 2 speed settings, low and high. I had him running on low. I put him over there on my junk table. Whoops, other way around. And just tilted him so that he passed breeze across my bed. And in the morning at 7 in the morning, I'll just turn him off again. At 7 in the morning, I checked my little battery indicators, and you can see that there's 4 lights. Well, in the morning, I had 3 lights. So it appeared to me that I used about 1/4 of the power. So going on my brilliant mathematician calculations, I believe that I would get 4 days use out of this little guy. And as I showed you in video number 1 with my little inverter, I can actually charge the battery with my little inverter. So even off the grid, as long as I've got sun heating my my solar panel on the roof, and I'm getting power to my house battery, I can then transfer that power and charge up my little Ryobi batteries for my other gadgets. Okay, coming at number 4. This is number 3. I take the battery out of number 3, and number 4th most important gadget to take away with you on holidays is my little, or your little, if you buy one, little Ryobi lantern. Self-explanatory. It's got a high and low beam. Once again, I did the 12-hour test. After 12 hours, just like the fan, I tested the little battery level, and I had 3 out of the 4 lights once again. 12 hours, 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. with a 4 amp battery. This little guy ran for 12 hours, used 1/4 of the battery's power. So I believe on that note, once again, I could go away 4 times, have this running for 12 hours each night, and I won't run out of power. Once again, I can use my inverter and charge this battery up with the little battery charger I've got. So happy days. Now, one time and one time only, I turned my little J-hub off and it didn't come back on, so I didn't have lights or 12 volt power inside. Well, off the grid. It ended up being operator error. I had a little switch that wasn't quite connected properly, but this little guy saved us. I put him on the bench, and it gave us lighting all night. It comes with a little hook. You can hook it up on anything you want. The beauty of this is I can also take it outside. Unlike all these other lights in here, I can take it outside, down the beach, fishing, whatever. And this little guy is a very handy little addition to the family. This also cost me $59 at Bunnings. High, low and off. Alrighty. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did like this little episode, please click the subscribe button. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below, and feel free to share. All right, thanks for watching. Happy holidays and safe travels. Okay, bye-bye.